impact on persons covered under such Chapter 85 because of such exception. 4. The extent to which such agreement complies with applicable policies, directives, or other guidance of the Department of Defense. B. Recommendations. 1. In general. The Secretary of Defense shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees, along with the budget request materials for fiscal year 2023, specific recommendations for modifications to the legislative text of subsection A.1 of Section 2679 of Title 10, United States Code, along with a rationale for any such modifications, to identify specific provisions of federal contracting law appropriate for waiver or exemption to ensure effective use of intergovernmental support agreements under such section. 2. Budget request materials defined in this subsection. The term budget request materials means the materials submitted to Congress by the President under Section 1105 A of Title 31, United States Code. C. Briefing required. Not later than 6 months after the date of enactment of this Act, the Secretary of Defense shall provide to the Congressional Defense Committees a briefing on activities taken to carry out the requirements of this section. D. Policy required. Not later than 1 year after the date of the enactment of this Act, the Secretary of Defense shall issue guidance to clarify the use of the authority under Section 2679 of Title 10, United States Code, including with respect to 1. The application of other requirements of acquisition law and policy, and 2. Chapter 85 of Title 41, United States Code. E. Secretary concerned defined. In this section, the term Secretary concerned means 1. The Secretary of the Army, with respect to matters concerning the Army. 2. The Secretary of the Navy, with respect to matters concerning the Navy and the Marine Corps. And 3. The Secretary of the Air Force, with respect to matters concerning the Air Force and the Space Force. Sec. 877. Report on requests for equitable adjustment in Department of the Navy. A. Report required, not later than 60 days after the date of the enactment of this Act, the Secretary of the Navy shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees a report describing in detail the processing of requests for equitable adjustment by the Department of the Navy between October 1, 2011, and the date of the enactment of this Act, including progress by components within the Department of the Navy in complying with the covered directive. B. Contents. The report required under subsection A shall include, at a minimum, the following: 1. The number of requests for equitable adjustment submitted between October 1, 2011, and the date of the enactment of this Act. 2. The components within the Department of the Navy to which each such request was submitted. 3. The number of requests for equitable adjustment outstanding as of the date of the enactment of this Act. 4. The number of requests for equitable adjustment settled but not paid as of the date of the enactment of this Act, including a description of why each such request has not been paid. 5. A detailed explanation of the efforts by the Secretary of the Navy to ensure compliance of components within the Department of the Navy with the covered directive. C. Covered directive defined. In this section, the term covered directive means the directive of the Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research, Development, and Acquisition, dated March 20, 2020, and titled, Intent and Direction, Withholds and Retentions During COVID-19 requiring 1. Payment to contractors of all settled requests for equitable adjustment, and 2. The expeditious resolution of all outstanding requests for equitable adjustment. Sec. 878. Military Standards for Armor Materials in Vehicle Specifications. A. In general, not later than June 30, 2022. The Secretary of the Army shall establish technical specification standards for all metal and non-metal armor for incorporation into specifications for current and future armored vehicles developed or procured by the Department of the Army. B. Report required. 1. In general. On the date on which the standards described in subsection A are established under such subsection, the Secretary of the Army shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees a report describing A. the establishment of such standards, and B. the strategy for incorporating such standards as requirements for armored vehicles developed and procured by the Department of the Army. 2. Form. The report required by paragraph 1 shall be in an unclassified form, but may include a classified annex. C. Armored vehicle defined. For purposes of this section, the term armored vehicle means a tracked or wheeled tactical vehicle incorporating armor in its manufacture. Title IX Department of Defense Organization and Management Sector 901. Change in eligibility requirements for appointment to certain Department of Defense leadership positions. Sector 902. Clarification of treatment of Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation as a Department of Defense field activity. Sector 903. Enhanced role of the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering on the Joint Requirements Oversight Council. Sector 904. Implementation of repeal of Chief Management Officer of the Department of Defense. Sector 905. Space Force Organizational Matters and Modification of Certain Space-Related Acquisition Authorities. Sector 906. Assignments for participants in the John S. McCain Strategic Defense Fellows Program. Sector 907. Designation of senior official for implementation of electromagnetic spectrum superiority strategy. Sector 908. Management innovation activities. Sector 909. Digital talent recruiting officer. Sector 910. Cross-functional team for emerging threat relating to anomalous health incidents. Sector 911. Alignment of Close Combat Lethality Task Force. Sector 912. Independent review of and report on the Unified Command Plan. Sector 913. Study and report on the role and organization of space assets in the reserve components. Sec. 901. Change in eligibility requirements for appointment to certain Department of Defense leadership positions. A. Secretary of Defense, subsection A, of Section 113 of Title 10, United States Code, is amended to read as follows. A. 1. There is a Secretary of Defense, who is the head of the Department of Defense, appointed from civilian life by the President, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate. Two. A person may not be appointed as Secretary of Defense, A, within 7 years after relief from active duty as a commissioned officer of a regular component of an armed force in a grade below 07, or B, within 10 years after relief from active duty as a commissioned officer of a regular component of an armed force in the grade of 07 or above. B. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations and Low-Intensity Conflict, Section 138, B, 2, A, of Title 10, United States Code, is amended by inserting after the third sentence the following: a person may not be appointed as Assistant Secretary within 7 years after relief from active duty as a commissioned officer of a regular component of an armed force. C. Secretary of the Army, Section 7013, A, 2, of Title 10, United States Code, is amended by striking 5 and inserting 7. D. Secretary of the Navy. Section 8013, A, 2, of Title 10, United States Code, is amended by